What's up, Spilled Milkers? Andrew Zimmern here. Ask me anything. Typically, what you're seeing right now is behind a paywall, but we've opened it up this week for a lot of different reasons. Most importantly, so you get a look at the types of things that you're missing when you're not a paid subscriber. The great news is that we have an incredible gift for you. It's right at the top of the post. If you click back after you're done watching, become a paid subscriber and you get 25% off Shun, Kai Housewares, Kershaw, 4 different companies all owned by the same umbrella company to get knives, housewares, cooking utensils, cutting boards. It's incredible. And that 25% off, you can use it twice. So if you use it once, you buy a bunch of gifts for people, and then you say, oh, I want to buy myself something special, boom, you can. And it goes through January 31st. So you get stuff after Christmas. So if you get a knife from someone as a gift and you have one of those little gift receipts, double up. Anyway, subscriptions to Spilled Milk make a great gift all on their own. And now it comes with an incredible discount. It actually, you're losing money if you don't subscribe to Spilled Milk. All right, so AMA, here we go. It's an Ask Me Anything. People send in questions, I answer them. Kevin writes, in regards to my Chicago dining guide, have you ever had a chance to go to Uncle Mike's place for the Filipino breakfast? No, but I love Filipino breakfast. I'm just not a huge breakfast person. I get up, I have my cup of coffee, and then I go about my business, and usually my first meal is something really light around 9:30 or 10. I know it's really stupid. I think if I ate breakfast, I'd lose 10 pounds because you're just less hungry over the rest of the day. But then I do lunch, and then I do dinner, and then I do second dinner, and then I do late night dinner. I know. But Mike's Place for Filipino breakfast, for those that want to add something like that to their list. Jerry writes, hi, Andrew. Not sure if this is the right place to ask a question. Jerry, this is the best place to ask a question. But here goes. I'm headed to Montreal next week with my 3 young adult kiddos, looking for suggestions for lunch dinner spots that won't break the bank, but provide a delish representation of the city. Your guidance is appreciated. Well, you're actually going to the right city. It's rare that a city has so many different cuisines represented at such a high level, both in high and low. So yes, there are a lot of fancy restaurants. I mean, dining out in Montreal, full stop, one of the best food cities in the world. So much great stuff, and it's just hip, and it's leading, cutting edge. Not in terms of like children's portions designed by an interior decorator, but just in terms of plating and ingredients and flavor forward, because the whole city loves to eat. So chefs go there to open a restaurant knowing that they have a consumer base there that will tolerate some bumps and bruises along the way if they find other things and feel that a restaurant is trying to get their feet underneath them. Consumers there, diners, are very supportive of the restaurant scene up there. I just assume eating Montreal as any city in the world. But here goes. So here's some less expensive places that do a lot of really cool things. Chez Ma Tante is great. A superb hot dog, believe it or not. Helicopter, great neighborhood restaurant. Upscale sandwich place called Sandwicherie Sue. Sandwich, E-R-I-E, Sue. Great place for, obviously, sandwiches. Last time I was up there, I went to an Indian restaurant called Le Super Qualité that was just awesome and kind of modern. They did a Kerala-style fried chicken dish in the style of Kerala-style fried fish in a little mini bowl. I mean, it was just insane. A lot of great Italian food there. Probably the one that's the least fussy that I know of is Paloma. Mapul Mui. M-A-P-O-U-L-E, Mui, M-O-U-I-L-L-E. It's a chicken place. You get roasted chicken. It's amazing. Damas for Syrian food. There's so many great restaurants from the Levant, Lebanese, Syrian, Israeli. I mean, it's just fantastic. There's a really, really big Arabic population there, and the food at some of the different restaurants from that whole diaspora is just incredible. Damas, great for Syrian food. I have to eat Chinese food in every city that has a good place. There's one there called Dobe and Andy, D-O-B-E and Andy, A-N-D-Y. Great Chinese food. I'm gonna steer you towards the place that most people don't steer you towards for smoked meat, pastrami sandwiches, things like that at Delhi. Snowden's, I love it. It's awesome. And you gotta go to Saint Viateur for bagels. The traditional Montreal style bagel, they're a little smaller, fire, hearth baked, just spectacular. See, my dogs are getting excited thinking about Saint Viateur bagels. Samantha writes, I'm heading to Charleston for the first time in January. I'm under the impression that it's not hard to find an amazing meal there. That's true. I just got back from there last week, so you're asking the right person. Chubby fish, maybe the best meal I've had in a long time. Super innovative, doesn't break the bank. Lots of small plates and a few larger plates. Oysters, the whole 9 yards. One of the best restaurants I've eaten in 2023. And it's fun. Fig and The Ordinary, Mike Lotta's, two classic places, cannot be beaten. Leon's for oyster and fried chicken, great, best concept ever. Cool music, lots of oysters, fried chicken. Fucking unbelievable. Love Leon's. Rodney Scott Barbecue. I mean, you have one of the best barbecue spots in the country right there. Obstinate Daughter. Mediterranean pizzas, but they also have local oysters. A great combination, super casual, great location. I think it's on Sullivan's Island. I mean, just right over the bridge. You know, Charleston, there's an estuary and a bunch of different peninsulas. So when a restaurant is just over, everything's just over a bridge, right? Husk, still great. The Darling Oyster Bar, classic, and a great room. If you want some spicy Thai, Viet, homogenized, hybridized, small portions, handmade deliciousness, go to Xiao Bao Biscuit. I took out food from Xiao Bao Biscuit one night when I was down there, which is what I usually do. And they had tiny little mochi, savory mochi balls stuffed with spicy chicken and mushrooms with a dipping sauce that was lots of sliced garlic and onions and a little sweetened fish sauce around it that I literally just ordered more the next day and drove by and picked it up. That's how good it was. Pink Belly's, great casual hip restaurant. Hannibal's Kitchen, soul food, crab fried rice. Hannibal's Kitchen, fantastic. And the Darling Oyster Bar. Both, I mean, it is what it is, right? But Darling's is a classic. Everyone loves it. Madeline writes, can I fully cook my brisket one day and still reheat it from cold to hot in the oven for at least an hour? It won't kill it. As long as you don't kill it the first time. A lot of people make the mistake of overcooking their brisket the first time. I like to take my brisket out the moment it's fork tender and let it rest until it's cool on the counter in its broth and onions. I'll recover it if I uncovered it to roast the top of it if it's crowning out of its liquid. You know, I do brisket by feel. And, you know, if you wait till a fork inserted in the middle twists around easy, it's probably a little too soft. You probably should have taken it out a half hour earlier. But yeah, I go the minute that I feel it soft and yielding, out it comes. Now, brisket is better if you eat it the next day and reheat it. Once it's just done, take it out, let it cool on the counter, slide the whole thing typically into a smaller roasting pan because the brisket is shrunk, the liquid and onions have shrunk, everything is shrunk. I'll season it and cover it with, you know, tinted aluminum foil so it holds that warmth in. And I put it in a 225, 235 degree oven for 90 minutes. But what I've done is I've let it come out of the fridge and come to room temperature. That's crucial for reheating any meats in an oven, because if it's 38 degrees, 40 degrees in your fridge, it takes so long just to get to 75, and everyone pulls it out too early, and then you're hacking. It's just a mess. Let everything come to room temperature before you cook it, so it actually starts cooking right away. The difference between cooking or reheating something that's 40 degrees versus whatever your kitchen is, 70 degrees, really is night and day, and often represents a lot of time. Okay, Denise writes, caught the holiday party show last night. Fantastic. Everyone should watch Andrew and Zoe's holiday party on streaming on Max, Discovery Plus. It's on Magnolia and reruns. Looks like you had a blast making that. We did. And definitely a table I'd love to eat at. Thank you. Everything looks so delicious. Also, own an old house, so Zoe's details and Christmas scene that stun her up make that house so welcoming and cozy. Yeah, Zoe lives in a 140-year-old home with all the original furnishings inside, so it just feels like a Dickensian sort of environment. Curious about the conversation or what led to that special pick in the kitchen. Because if that's how you cook, we're going to need to see outtakes that didn't make the show. And you're probably referring to the picture of me without clothes holding her up. I actually had an apron on. But yeah, we had some funny stills that we made. I've known Zoe for over 30 years, held her babies as babies. She and her husband are some of my best friends, and I love them very much. So, yeah, you are correct. We made some funny outtakes. That's my favorite picture. It's framed in my office, by the way. That's how much I like it. Deborah writes about my latkes. If you could make one big, thin latke, kind of like a Korean scallion pancake, or I guess she's saying, could you? Absolutely. The problem is rolling it out, right? Because it's not that stable, right? But you can, and I would do it in shallow oil, and I would get a big latke, maybe that big, something that you can hold in two hands and slide in, and then take latke batter and potatoes and press it around the outside to extend it and make it bigger, and then make sure it's really brown and crispy on one side, so when you turn it, and remember, lift it with the spatula, it's browned on the bottom, just hold your fingers on the top, so when you turn it, it doesn't splash down and get oil everywhere or burn you. But you can definitely do that. Any ways to make these latkes vegan? Yeah, just don't use the egg. Yeah, just don't use the egg. You can use a plant-based egg, right? From Just, which is a great company. They make a really good plant-based egg, and it works 1-for-1 in recipes. And with a latke, it's sort of the ideal way to use a plant-based egg. Sylvia writes, what do you think of this year's New York Times Cookie Week recipes? Would you bake any of them? I would bake all of them. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not a big fan of those Italian strawberry chocolate vanilla checkerboard cookies. And while there's a great recipe for it there, if you like them, go ahead and do it. The one that I would make first, I love those lemon ice twists, but is it Melissa Clark who has a ginger snap brownie in there, or a ginger brownie? I guess not really a brownie, but can we call it a gingery? Anyway, it looks and has the texture of a brownie, but it's gingerbreadish, and I can't wait to make that. Curious what your thoughts are on French tacos. Why the aversion to actual tacos in France? Okay, so here's the deal. In France, like in a lot of countries, there's certain cuisines that just don't get liftoff, right? It'd be really interesting to see how Mashama Bailey's new restaurant, James Beard Award winner, chef and owner of The Gray in Savannah, modern soul food is her thing. how her new restaurant over there is received. I think it's a brilliant move. I think she's going in at the perfect time for that type of food to become popular in France. The French are really, really, really persnickety about their food culture because it is such a large part of their larger culture and it's such a part of their regional culture. So while tacos and Mexican food in general has not exploded, I mean, just think about how explosive Mexican food is here in America. Mexican food goes from the North Pole all the way down through Mexico. I mean, if you think of it, I mean, it's as popular in America as any food there is. I mean, it's crazy how popular, in a cool way, how popular Mexican food is. I mean, any little sleepy town in America has their diner, there's the and then there's always a Mexican place. It's incredible because everybody craves those flavors. Same thing with Italian restaurants. But for some reason, Mexican restaurants, maybe because there's a perception about price, are more popular. Anyway, the French taco is like a late night food thing. And I mean, it's got everything on there. It's a kitchen sink kind of dish with the, French fries, all the rest of that, all rolled into a big thing. It's like a late night stoner food burrito situation. And I pulled something, I'm going to read something from an old New Yorker article about this. And it is funny, it's called the French taco. It's never plural. It's always plural. French tacos, even though it's one, because they're big. A flour tortilla piled with meat, usually halal. This is from an old article in New Yorker. French fries doused in cheese sauce, and they put lots of other things in there. Onions, tomatoes, just lots of stuff. Folded into a rectangular pocket and then toasted on a grill. Kind of, a lot of places do burritos like that. And supposedly it was invented in Lyon, but they're all over France right now. And they're fucking delicious. I mean, what's better than meat and lots of stuff and cheese and crispy potatoes in a flour tortilla? For me, what's missing and is like mandatory with something like that is something really acidic. So limes have to go with that. I want some spicy salsa or hot sauce with that. Anyway, that's my own personal take. But French tacos, fantastic. Fantastic, right? Who doesn't love it? It's like the French Lyonnaise version of the Rochester or Buffalo garbage plate. Think of it that way. Any rules of thumb when doubling or halving recipes? It's not always as simple as multiplying or dividing everything by 2. You're darn right. You have to experiment and you have to read the recipe and think about the technique. I'll give you a good example. If you were cutting the recipe on beef bourguignon, which I wouldn't, I would just freeze some. And I think that's the sort of the philosophy that I have. I would never cut something just because there's 2 of us eating. I would make the recipe for 4 and freeze half of it. You have a liquid to solids ratio issue you have to deal with. And you still have to use the same amount of liquid, whether you're making it for 2 portions or 4 portions, because otherwise your meat doesn't braise enough, it evaporates too quickly. It also depends on what size pot or pan you use. Oftentimes baking recipes, cookies often double really well. Cakes and pies sometimes do, not always. Savory dishes, really, you often have a ratio problem with the liquid. So read it through, think about it. You can always shoot me another question. If there's a particular recipe that you're wondering about, shoot it to me in the questions and we'll get to it next week. Love you all. Everybody have a blessed and joyous rest of the Hanukkah season, and have a great day.